Hey everybody, welcome to a quick Forgecast review of the Final Fantasy 15 Comrades multiplayer DLC beta. That's a mouthful. But this, if you are a fan of Final Fantasy 15, you're pretty much going to like what you're seeing here, except for the fact that they are having some trouble with the servers. I had a lot of trouble finding any games the night before. I was able to see a few custom games, but every time I tried to load them in, I had some issues. So I did have some better luck this morning, which you can see. That was the campground there, base camp. Not a whole lot to do there, just kind of getting ready to quest. Once this loads in, you'll see we are in a quest. Thankfully, I did get some experience with this, some hands-on. These are other players, so it's not a foreign thing to the game to have other characters fighting alongside of you. And it's kind of a natural progression that other players fit along with you in a multiplayer setting. So it doesn't feel weird because you're used to having Ignis and the other guys fighting with you. So basically, if you like the mechanics of the combat, you're going to like it here. It's pretty much the same. You can see a couple differences. You have the L2 triangle for curative, L2 circle for offensive spell. If you hold the block button, you get this nice little shield here, which is kind of neat. So it's mostly the same, couple of different changes here. So if you like it and you like playing with friends, you'll probably enjoy this. I will say this though, the server issue last night, I wasn't sure I was going to get to play at all. They did have a notice saying that we're kind of overrun with their servers, and you might experience some long wait times, which obviously I did. I don't know. I really hope that Square Enix fixes that for the end product. I anticipate that they will, although you never really know. Sometimes games get released with all kinds of issues, but hopefully they'll fix that. I will note that each character can be customized. There is gear, just like there is in the game, and so if you're a gear hunter, I don't know to what extent the visuals will change things. It appears there are visual unlockables for the customization. So we just kind of have to wait and see about some of that in the end product. But I did experience a good level, a good degree of customization. It was interesting to see how the item mechanics work. You can see I'm about to pick up a piece of raw meat here. And that basically fits in with the cooking mechanic of the game, the aspect of that gameplay from the single player. And each of the player characters in this multiplayer DLC can pick up one ingredient from each quest. And when you go back to camp, each of you brings that ingredient to a cooking recipe, which will then give you a buff. But you can only carry one ingredient, and you can see at the end of this quest, it's a little bit unexpected. We're kind of trying to pick up a bunch of meat, and we keep basically getting rid of the piece we had picked up and picking up a new one. So quests work a lot like hunts. I don't know if this will be the only type of quest, a hunt quest, for the multiplayer DLC in the end product. Again, this is a beta. A lot of this could change, and hopefully it may, based on player feedback. So I know Square Enix did something similar with the main game. They released several betas, or demos even, and they wanted player feedback, and when players were disappointed with combat or other aspects and let them know, they did try to revamp. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for them to learn. You can see we finished the quest here. In a minute, I'll give you a look at some of the customization and gear as I shed the same piece of meat over and over again. Okay, so this is my town, the place I originally started before I got into the base camp for the quest. You can see that there's a way to communicate here, some standard things to say. There's several different chat menus, things you want to say, quotes from different Final Fantasy games, it appears, and then also some emojis of some kind. I really was not a fan of the Chocobo one. The Cactuar one looked kind of nice, but those are just ways for you to communicate with the other players. Although I would imagine if you're playing with people you would probably prefer voice chat. But that's just a nice way to kind of keep it clean, especially if you have people playing from who are a little bit younger or in families. So here you can see some of the gear system, the 4 different items I have equipped. Those look to be, they were not interchangeable in the beta, but it looks like you will be able to change them. And each one has its own ability, or 2 in this case. So there's stats you can obviously take a look at. There is an item menu and news as well, but we did not have access to those in the beta. So unfortunately, this is from gameplay the night before. It's a little boring because I did not get into a quest, but let's take a look at the one other quest I was able to do.
Glad you made it back.
Okay, so this is actually the end of that first quest we were seeing. You can see the ingredients that we brought back, each one of us, and it's going to be put into a recipe. Again, this is a lot like the single player, which is kind of neat. I'm kind of glad they brought that mechanic back. It adds to the co-op aspect of it, that each of us gets one ingredient to bring, and that will affect a group buff through the recipe. So I do like that. I don't like how there's kind of long black screens waiting here. Again, hopefully end product will not be so much like that. Waiting times, load times, server issues, etc. But you can see here we did get loot. We did get some spoils of the victory from the hunt. And it looks like some information there as well about the enemies we fought and things like that. So this is pretty neat. I mean, I think it's kind of a good pattern for how co-op multiplayer should work in games that are typically single player. You often hear the argument that co-op doesn't belong in single player games. You know, I kind of disagree, because it just means, typically that means it just hasn't been done yet, and it hasn't been done well. And this is a really cool way of seeing how the aspects of the single player game are being well incorporated in a cooperative format. So again, if you're more of a single player person, you may not like this, but I actually did like it a lot. I prefer my games to have co-op. I love stories. I love in-depth, engrossing games when I have the time for them. Again, my crew, my peoples, me and my friends typically prefer games that are easy to jump in and play and then quit in an hour or less, just because we have so much else going on. We have families and careers and ministries. So this is really kind of a hard hobby to follow whenever it requires a lot of time of you. But I did very much enjoy this. It was a kind of a quick spurt of gameplay. You do sort of get some rewards out of it. I think it's a really good option for families as well, since the chat is kind of managed in a clean sort of way. You're given options of what things you can say. It's not like anybody's going to be cursing at your kids or teaching them horrible things, unless of course they're using the chat function, which you may not be able to control. So one of the other things that I'll tell you while this is loading is that I loved the music. The victory songs, very much classic for Final Fantasy. So I did appreciate that, but that's nothing new to the game. The music is really well done. So this is another quest that we undertook. We were in the base camp together. That buff was applied to all of us, and then we went another quest together. So you can see that chaining quests together can actually be a good thing, because you share that buff. So we do pretty well here with these little bombs, firebomb guys. But you can see in a minute, I probably would speed it up for you so you can see that the boss is very challenging, which I was concerned about because I wasn't sure how well the balancing of the game would hold up in the co-op setting. But it did pretty well. It definitely was not too easy. It's probably not too hard either. It just kind of seemed like we were trying to figure it out. Okay, so here we have some of the character customization options. I was actually kind of impressed with the amount that they were offering for a beta. And you can see the lock boxes as well, which seems like there are unlockables. Let's all really hope that they are not paid DLC. A lot of Japanese companies have incorporated that, like the Tales series and also Dynasty Warriors series. There's very limited visual customization as the game goes on, and usually you end up paying for that, which let's really hope that that's not the case. I really hope that these are unlockables, things that will come through gameplay and not through paid DLC, but you really don't know. So we're just going to have to wait that part out. But I am moving quickly through this because there are quite a few options that you can use for a beta. Right now we're looking just at features like tattoos and beards and face paint and all of that. And again, families may decide they have a certain feeling on those subjects, so that would be up to you to decide. But you can choose a voice. There's a lot of customization here. I will not go through all of it. That would be a waste of everybody's time. But you can see, if you're the kind of person that likes customization, you'll have plenty of it. So there's a lot of this here to look at. I will jump forward just to the highlights, but it's kind of impressive, the color changes that you can do on each piece of equipment, even top, bottom, gloves, shoes, etc. So there's not too many of each of those pieces, but the way that you can customize each of those pieces is kind of impressive. Alright everybody, thank you for watching the Forgecast review of the Final Fantasy XV Comrades multiplayer DLC beta. I hope you got to enjoy the beta if you got to play it. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I hope it helped you to decide if this was the right choice for your budget, your family, and your time. God bless.